Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 28 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on my writing. So, yay for day 28. 72 days to go. Yay. Trying to do things a little bit differently today. Not sure how that's working out for me right now. Every time I try to change things, it's a little bit harder to do. But I was just remembering today that I really felt a lot better when I did my YouTube videos before I went to work, when I did my gratitude videos before work. It kind of gave me that extra boost and positivity that I needed before I go to work. But in order to do my YouTube videos before I go to work, it means I have to do my writing before I go to work, and I keep putting my writing off until the end of the day. And then when I started doing the writing ones, I kind of liked waiting until I journaled to do my YouTube videos because I kind of like the extra insights I got. So it was kind of like pushing my YouTube videos further and further back and pushing my day further and further back. And so today I am going to work really late because I chose to try to do things a little bit differently. I chose to work on my writing and do my YouTube video before work, which is something I would like to do, but I would like to do it a little bit earlier in the day instead of this late in the day. Trying to get myself to flip my schedule, which is something I keep talking about and keep not doing. So today is one of those days where I decided I read my scriptures and meditationals. I was talking to my friend today, and I was thinking, okay, I had this thought in my head. I'm like, you want to fight a battle? What battles are you going to fight? Because I keep fighting myself. I keep fighting, I think, against God and being like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to write my books. I don't want to finish this process. And I'm like, I know it's good. I know I started it. I know I'm determined to do it, but I keep fighting myself. So I just, I don't know, maybe I'm tired of fighting, or maybe I just need to put my energy towards something that would be a little bit better, beneficial for me, to fight the urge to play games on my phone, to fight the urge to watch movies, to stop avoiding my life and to start facing my life, to just fight the old emotions and be like, okay, I'm going to face this stuff. I don't care what it is. I'm going to face it. I'm going to fight it. These are the battles I'm going to win because they're old. They don't mean anything. I don't need to carry them around anymore. It's time to start cutting all that stuff loose. And as I'm saying that, I'm picturing like these big old bags, like those stage sandbags. They're just running around and cutting off, and they're just falling away. And I feel lighter. I get to fly up higher. I get to feel better about myself for doing these things, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for those feelings, for those images that pop into my head because I am a writer. I have an active imagination. I've had it my entire life, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really hoping I can have a good night at work because I kind of left myself in a very frustrated situation in my story. Um, Not that I'm frustrated with my story. Let me try to clarify that a little bit. But I've noticed in the past in my life when I go to counseling appointments or other things that you kind of like leave with a feeling, emotion, especially when I do trauma counseling and my counselor's like, okay, we'll pick this up next time, or that's the emotion we dealt with. And so it's like I leave and then that kind of lingers. It has a lingering effect for a few days or a few weeks for me to have to kind of still process out of my system. It doesn't all get processed. It gets stirred up is what happens. It gets stirred up, it gets brought to the surface, and then we process the surface stuff, but there's still more that's kind of bubbling up there that either has to settle back down or it has to come out and go away. The same as the rest of it. So it doesn't all get resolved in 1 hour session in counseling. So it kind of takes me a day or two to, or sometimes a week or two, and sometimes it runs into the next session of counseling because there's just that much of that emotion, whatever it is. So it kind of affects the rest of how I feel, the rest of how I respond to things. And I'm noticing the same is true with my writing. When I bring up things in my stories, in my books, and the things that I'm writing about myself, when I cut off a certain emotion because like tonight I'm like, it's really late and I really need to go to work and I can't just keep writing. I could keep writing all night, but this chapter is just taking forever and it's very frustrating to me because I hate this chapter. I know it's not very nice of me. Um, I'm grateful I can just laugh at myself and the random things that I say. I, I'm sorry, I don't know why that just sounded so funny to me. Maybe I just needed a good laugh, which I'm grateful I can do. I don't hate the book that I'm writing. It's recognizing God's hand in my life, but I do hate my biological dad. I really, I I still need to work on forgiving him for the things that he did. But I will never have a relationship with that man. And I have not quite got to the point in this chapter where I'm explaining why I will never have a relationship with that man. But I am in the process of, in this chapter, going through, and I apparently spread out all of the crap that happened to me throughout my book that I wrote the first time. And I'm trying to go back through and put it in some semblance of order, and added another part that I thought I put in there. I was kind of relieved that I hadn't put it in there, and I was really not happy that God was telling me I need to put it in there because it was not very nice. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was not, but it affected me in a very negative way growing up. It gave me a very negative perception of myself, which I am still, as an adult, trying to change that perception and realize that that was wrong. So it is something that has affected my life, and it was something I felt like I needed to put in my book, in my story. And it is something that I have not shared with the world. It is something I have not shared with my siblings. It is something I never shared with my biological mom. So she passed away not knowing that this ever happened. It's just one of those, I have shared it with a few things with counselors and bishops and things, but it's not something that I have openly shared before. So, but looking at it now, looking at all that stuff that I was writing, it just makes me angry. Really, it does, to all the stuff that happened to me. And I feel like I have every right to be angry at what happened to me because it was wrong. It was wrong. And somehow I am laughing, which is so odd to me. But maybe I think that's God's way of healing me just a little bit, that I can laugh at, because my biological dad doesn't have that power over me anymore. He can't control me or my life anymore. I can write about this and it's going to go out to the world. It's going to suck for anybody that knows who he is, that I'm the one that wrote this book, that's going to read what he did to me, because he never had to get punished for that. He never had to suffer the consequences for that. I mean, the most he's had to suffer is that his kids don't like him, and tells his brothers, his family, that he doesn't understand why his kids won't talk to him or don't want to have a relationship with him. And they all try to tell me and my siblings why we need to be nice to him and why we need to have a relationship with him. And I was like, no, I don't. I do not have to have a relationship with that man. I have so many reasons I don't have to have a relationship with that man. I don't care. And I'm actually kind of written some of that explanation in the book already, and I'm looking forward to kind of figuring out how to finish that explanation, but trying to figure out where to put it in the story to kind of make it all flow and go together and explain. And I just didn't realize how long this chapter was, how much crap there was to put in there. And I was like, dang it. I'm like, well, can I skip this? Can I skip this? And I'm like, I could maybe turn it into 2 different chapters. I could make it do like one chapter that was just, my childhood, and one chapter was like teenage adult years because, before the divorce, after the divorce kind of a thing. And maybe I'll do that. That's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do that. And then I can put some more details into that. Okay. Sorry, that whistling or whatever that is in the background, if you can hear it, I apologize. It's the people in the other room that drive me insane. And I can't do anything about it. And I'm not going to stop living my life because they choose to be noisy and obnoxious neighbors. So that is my random vent. Because again, I'm angry and annoyed at things that are outside of my control. And I am trying to remember that I am not in control. And just like I was not in control as a little girl, I did not have any control over what was done to me. But as an adult, I do have the choice as to whether or not I can let that continue to haunt me, continue to interfere with any future relationships, create mistrust towards everyone that I meet, or I can choose to just be like, okay, I had a bad dad. He made a lot of bad choices. He did a lot of bad things to me. I do not have to have a relationship with that man. He does not have any power over me anymore. And I do not have to continue to be afraid. I do not have to continue to hide. I can stand up and fight. And the interesting thing is, as I was remembering these things and the stuff that I was writing, I'm like, I stood up to them many times. I fought back many times because I knew there was something wrong, and I didn't know that it was him. I just didn't feel comfortable. And it's just showing myself, seeing myself in a different light, and realizing that I am a fighter. I did fight back. I did say no. It didn't always work, but I did. And I stood up for myself against someone that was supposed to be my parent, that was supposed to protect me, and I didn't care. And I went to church, and I've dealt with adults and other family members that have tried to convince me that I have to have a relationship with this man. And every time I have said no. I don't have to put myself in that situation again. I don't have to do those things. And I don't have to explain to anybody why I'm choosing not to have a relationship with this person. I am choosing not to go around discrediting him. I'm choosing not to go tell the whole world all the horrible things that he did to me. Well, I've chosen up to this point not to tell the whole world all the horrible things he's done to me. I am not going to share it in a YouTube video. It is not something that's appropriate for a YouTube video. I'm not sure how appropriate it is for my book. But I put it in my book anyway. It is there. It is a short little section. It is a couple of paragraphs. If you get my book, you don't like it, you can just black it out. I don't care. I would love to black out that part of my life and pretend it never happened and it wasn't there. But it does explain a lot of my self-esteem issues. It does explain a lot of the choices that I made growing up. It does explain a lot of why I have hated being a girl, hated being a woman, hated men in my life. Perhaps probably why I am still single and why I have not had a successful relationship up to this point in my life. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities that are enshrouded by all of those things, but I faced that tonight. I fought those feelings tonight, and I am grateful that I did that. And I'm like, I won just a little bit today because I did that. And those were things that weren't as horrible memories to bring up as I thought they were, because I have made changes in my life. I have a different perspective now, but I know why I responded the way that I did. And I know that I did the best that I could in the situation and that it wasn't my fault. And I am grateful to know those things. And I am grateful to see my fighting spirit, even as a kid, in horribly bad situations, and still trying to stand up for myself, trying to stand up for my siblings, trying to fight back, and not always succeeding. And not remembering everything, and probably not remembering the good times, because all the good times were blocked by the bad things. And probably most of the good things or childhood memories that I have that were good did not involve my dad, because he just wasn't there. Which is also a blessing for the amount of time that he was away, because the amount of damage he did when he was there was bad enough. And I don't know how bad it would have been if he had actually been around more. So I'm glad that he just wasn't, and he just chose not to be after my parents got divorced, which was even better. It was still traumatic though, because every child wants to have a relationship with their dad or with their parents, and every child thinks that their parents are still good, or they're going to love them or treat them better or whatever, or they think that, like I did something wrong. There was something wrong with me, and if I could just change who I was, then he would love me, he would treat me better, he would be nice. He's not going to be nice. He's not going to change. He's not going to treat me better. He's not any of those things. And I don't care about that anymore. I don't want that from him anymore. I want to feel better about who I am and who I was growing up. I want to feel good about myself. Those are the parts of me that I want healed, which, a part of me in the process of healing is thinking, okay, well, it would be nice if the people that hurt me would actually apologize, if they would fix it. But I don't expect that from him. And I don't think I would accept it even if he did. I wouldn't believe it. I would be like, okay, you know what? I'm sorry you did this. I'm not going to let it affect my life anymore. I'm going to forgive you from a distance, but I can't trust you after this. I can't be around him after this. I can't trust him. I can't. I've been around him. I've seen him. I still feel uncomfortable around him, and he still lies about everything like it never happened, or like he had every right to do whatever it was that he did, and he still convinced everyone else in his side of the family that there's nothing wrong. And even my cousin, when I went to my grandmother's funeral, was like trying to tell me, he's like, oh yeah, your dad's creepy, nobody wants to be around him, like here comes uncle whatever, and we all want to run the other way, and we just kind of paced on a smile and tolerated him. He's like, but he's your dad. And I was like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? I was like, what? So what? He's still creepy. You don't want to be around him. What makes you think I want to be around him? Well, he's your dad, so you should work stuff out with him. I had a rough time with my dad for a while, didn't talk to him, and now we get along just fine. I'm like, that's great. Your dad's different. I don't know what your dad did or didn't do to you growing up, but I know he didn't do to me what my dad did. And he's just like, but you should get along with your dad. Everybody there at my grandma's funeral was like, I'm here to mourn my grandmother, to remember my grandmother. I'm not here to have anything to do with my dad. It just happens to be his mother. So whatever. But I got that the entire time I was there. But I'm grateful that I chose not to just go around sharing horrible things that my biological dad did. I'm grateful I didn't do all of that stuff. I tolerated him at the funeral. I tolerated him at other family functions while I was there, but I chose not to spend any one-on-one time with him, and I chose not to let him drive me to and from the airport. I chose not to put myself in that situation, and I'm grateful for that. I really am, because, you know, if other people see him in a better light than me, more power to him. Great. If he hasn't hurt you in the way that he's hurt me, that's awesome. You're lucky. Go for it. Whatever you want. If he's supposedly changed somehow, that's fine. But those are memories of mine that aren't going to be erased, even if the pain is swallowed up in the atonement, and I can forgive that those things have happened. I don't have to put myself in a situation for those things to happen again. And there are some people out there that don't stop, that don't change, that will continue to perpetuate the bad behavior as long as you allow it to continue. And those are the people you have to walk away from. Those are the people you have to leave. And you have to say, you know what, I love you. You know, you gave me life, whatever it was, but I can't be with you. I can't be treated this way. I deserve so much better. And I can't let you be a part of my life because I can't trust you because of what you're doing to me or because of what you've done to me. And everything you say is a lie. You're not going to follow through on anything. You're not going to do it. And I grew up with that. I'm not going back to that. I don't have to go back to that. I don't have to allow that to be a part of my life. And I know for quite a while in my life, I think I did, my biological dad didn't follow through on promises. He didn't keep promises. He didn't show up when he said he was going to show up. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. And I know when I get stuck in my depression and when things don't go the way I want in my life, I do very much what he did. And I just say, okay, that's it. We're done. No more. And I stop and I quit and I don't follow through and I don't keep my commitments. And I don't want to be like him. I don't want to be that kind of person. And I am doing what I can at this point in my life to change that. I can't go back and change all the times I didn't follow through on commitments I made to myself or to someone else. And I can't go back. I mean, I can blame him all I want, but it doesn't work, really. I'm like, he's the one that chose not to keep those commitments and promises, and he's the one that chose to be abusive. And like many people, I chose to repeat the patterns, repeat the behaviors, because I wanted something different. I just didn't know how to be something different or do something different. But I have chosen as an adult to find 12-step programs, to go to counseling, to find help, to figure out how to not be my biological parents, to not repeat the same patterns, the same behaviors. And I thought I was doing pretty good until after my divorce, and then I just fell apart. And now I understand how my biological mom could fall apart after all of that and the battle that she went through just to survive every day. And I have a much more compassion for her and understanding than I did as a kid growing up or as a teenager that just did not understand because my needs were not getting met and I was having to take on responsibilities that weren't mine. And then when I gave them back, she couldn't handle it, and neither could anybody else. And then I was the horrible bad guy because I let those responsibilities go because they weren't mine in the first place. And I was done taking care of other people's responsibilities, and she wasn't able to pick up the responsibility and do it for herself. So it fell on my older sister, it fell on my other siblings, and they're mad at me. They hate me. They may hate me for the rest of my life for my choices. But I eventually chose to take responsibility for myself. And even from the divorce and not taking responsibility and falling into a state of depression, I was like, I can't keep living my life this way. Something has to give, something has to change. And I started those gratitudes when my friend offered it to me because I was desperate and I wanted a way up. I wanted a way out. I needed a hope. I needed a purpose. I needed a reason to get out of bed, a reason to care for myself, and a reason to reconnect with my Heavenly Father. Because I knew He was there, and I knew He loved me, and I knew He kept sending people into my life and telling me that I needed to do better, and reminding me that I did not want to be like my biological parents. And the choices I was making at that point in my life were heading me right in that direction that I did not want to go. And I hated that too. I didn't like the reminders. I hated all of it. And I can't say that I enjoy the process of going through all of this stuff, of writing about all of these emotional things, but I am grateful for the insights that it gives me into myself, into who I was as a girl, as a little girl, that was willing to say something is wrong, that was willing to fight back, that was willing to say, I can do better. You can't tell me I can't do something. I'm going to prove you wrong. And that fighting spirit, that little girl, is still in me and wants to fight, wants to win, wants to publish these books, wants to say, ha, in your face, I did it. I keep trying to push that down, that part of me down, like it's not a good thing. And it is a good thing. It is a great thing that I have that fighting spirit in me. It is a great thing that that part of me wants to come out, that wants to explore and enjoy the world and enjoy the life that I have, even if it's not the one that I thought I wanted, or if it's not turning out the way that I thought it should. There is still so much to have and so much to do and so much to be grateful for. And just like a little kid, I like the little things. They make me happy. And I can explore and enjoy, and I can still take responsibility for my actions. I can follow through on my goals and my dreams. And by doing my writing, I'm doing that. By doing these videos, I'm being accountable to myself. It's kind of my way to keep track of the changes I'm making and the fact that I'm doing this. And it kind of is, I don't know, a little bit of self-encouragement for me because I can see my responses, my reactions. I can see how much happier I feel, how much better I feel because I did my writing. And I feel like I won a battle today because I did it before I went to work. So yay! See if I can do it again tomorrow. Granted, I'm going to work really late, which means I'm going to be up really late, which is still not the whole purpose of doing it before work, but I did it before work. And I may not have gotten through an entire chapter, but I now have the idea to kind of split that chapter in two and put some other insights into the one and then do the other for the after and part two or whatever you want to call it. And then just some other things. There are so many things in there that I didn't realize were in there. So many things that I just kind of spewed out that I have to go sort through and figure out where does this go in my book, in my timeline, in my story of events. And it fits. I know it all fits in there somewhere, and it will all be good when it's all nice and organized. And I know that God's helping me put it in the right order to help me to heal in the right order and to, I know it sounds weird, in the right order, but I think that certain things have to be dealt with in a certain order, and I have to be ready to deal with them. And each thing that I deal with helps me be ready for the next one and the next one until I'm ready to finally just let the whole thing go. And it's a process. I know it's a process, and I know that God is in control of the process. And I am trying to trust the process. I am trying to let go of that control, but it's hard. It's scary. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the repercussions are going to be of sharing these stories about what my biological dad did. And I don't know that his side of the family is ever going to read that book. I don't know that they're ever going to say or know anything. I don't know that my siblings are actually going to be too surprised when they read what happened to me. They may have had similar things, bad things happen to them that they've just chosen not to share. And maybe it will help us to open up with each other and share about things. And that would be a good thing. I don't know. I don't have any idea the end results of all of this, but I do know that it's helping me to heal in the process. It's giving me a way to look back at my life without staring at it, without having to relive it, but to see it from a different perspective and to see the strength, to see the qualities, to see the talents that I had then that I can use now, or see the ones that kind of got distorted and I believed the wrong things and the wrong people. And that is something that I can change. That is something I can work on changing, and that I don't have to be like my biological dad. I don't have to be like my biological parents. I don't have to give up. I don't have to stop fighting. I don't have to hold myself back. I don't have to not follow through on my goals. I can follow through on my goals. I can accomplish things. I can be somebody. I can do something. I can feel good about myself. I am a beloved daughter of God, and He has given me many gifts and many talents that He wants me to see, to use, to benefit my life, to bless the lives of others that I come in contact with. They're gifts, and He loves me, and He made me a woman for a reason, and He made me caring and compassionate towards other people for a reason, and He has given me the opportunity to see things from other people's points of views, to understand my parents and why they may have said or done what they did. I don't know that I'll ever understand my biological dad, but at least I know I don't have to let him have power over me. I don't have to be afraid of him anymore. And I don't have to hide and avoid my life because I'm afraid of him. I don't. And I'm grateful for that. And I don't have to be like my biological mother and be afraid of, whatever happens and be disappointed because life didn't work out the way that she thought it was going to, and it was hard and it was difficult. And she kept fighting too, which I know I get a fighting spirit from her to some extent, I'm sure, but a lot of things she just let go because it was too hard. And I wish that she'd had more help. I wish that she had had more support. But I know from looking back that there was no help, there was no support, and she got a lot of flack, a lot of people telling her how wrong she was for the choices that she was making, and that she needed to stay in a bad situation because then she would still be married, and that was better. I don't know why that was better. I will never understand why that was better. I will never understand the people that seem to think that I needed to have a relationship with my dad because they had relationships with their parents, and I was like, that's great. Or because they were a dad themselves, so they knew what dads were supposed to do and be there for their kids, so they had to be invited to events. And it's like, he didn't have any right to be here. He lost that privilege. He ruined that privilege. He don't belong in this family no more. And but no one else when I was growing up understood that concept. And in today's world, that is a much more wide known concept. It's much more it's much less tolerated to have someone that's that abusive or doing those things. It's quite possible the things that he'd done, if they went to court today, he would actually lose, he would have lost his parental rights. They would have been taken away from him. There wouldn't have been visitation. There wouldn't have been any of that. He would have literally lost his parental rights. He may have even gone to jail. But that was only if I was willing to say what he actually did, which nobody ever asked me, to be perfectly honest. I don't think my mom ever asked me what he did, and I never volunteered the information. I never did. And I learned as an adult what he did to my older sister. And I know that it was my older sister that said something to my mom, and my mom sent her away to live with her mom, my grandma. And that's when she filed for divorce, and she kicked my dad out because of what he did to my sister. And that is how my mom got full custody instead of joint custody, but my dad still got visitation rights. And my mom never called the police on him for what he did. So it kind of it protected us in some ways so he couldn't continue to do what he had done, but it didn't undo the damage that was done. And other than losing his family or us as his kids' relationship with us, which he never really had to begin with, and his marriage, I don't know what he lost, because I don't know. I mean, I could see him being disappointed because his fantasy world fell apart, because his perfect family that he imagined having didn't work out. And he did make some feeble attempts occasionally to try to put it back together, but it was all just a facade, a fake, of whatever. It didn't work because it wasn't real. And I don't think he can live in reality. I don't think he can deal with the reality. Some days I don't think I can deal with the reality. So I may get a little bit of that from him, but I don't know all the other things that he did or went into. And in writing my book, I am not trying to understand my biological dad. I am merely sharing how I felt and what he did. So things that happened to me and my reactions to them and my feelings based on those things and my reasons why, because of those things, I choose not to have a relationship with him. And that's my choice. And that doesn't have to change. And I don't see, in doing this, I feel more validated in my choice and knowing that I made the right choice. But I also know that I grew up in a time, in a place where people were not accepting of that choice. And it was very difficult for me to make that choice, to lose friends and to not be respected by church leaders and other people because of my choice. And to have many adults, even family members, try to tell me that I needed to change my choice. And I have not. But I know that my siblings have had the same lectures from family trying to tell them the same things. And they each have their own different relationship. And some, like me, choose not to speak to him at all. And some are on speaking terms with him, but they have very strict boundaries as to when or how they will see him or allow them to be in their lives, because they're still very wary of him and what he chose to do to them. And that's okay. I don't want to put my book out there as being a judgmental thing to other people. I'm putting it out there because I'm hoping it will benefit other people to know that you're not alone in what you're going through, that yes, bad things may happen and other people have their agency and God's not going to take their agency away, but he can send blessings to you. He can give you added strength and comfort. He can give you a way to escape. And for me, it was through writing. For me, it was in my journals. For me, it was in the stories that I created in my head, my way to daydream. And now I can use those stories to share with other people, to entertain other people, to be like, hey, look, these are the gifts that I've been given that helped me survive my childhood, and now I can share them. And it's a blessing to me. And now I don't need them anymore, so I can let them go. And the hard part is realizing I don't need them anymore because I'm very attached to them. So letting them go is very hard for me, which is probably why I avoid writing them. I avoid finishing them. I talk about them all the time because they're very dear to me, but I don't want to let them go into the world. So I procrastinate doing them. But I am trying not to do that anymore. And like I said, sort of work today, but going to work really late because of it, which is not great, but we'll see what happens anyway. And I'm sure that God will bless me for trying, and I'm grateful for that. And I am grateful. I also did work on Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers, and I did get to a scene that I didn't agree with when I read it. I was like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't gonna work. This doesn't. I'm like, nope, I need to find a different way to approach this scene. So I had to make some changes, and it wasn't a change that I was anticipating making. I knew I was going to be making changes in the next chapter, chapter 17, but this was chapter 16, and I was hoping I would do chapter 16 and 17 today, but again, I got a late start, And when I sat down, I had issues with chapter 16. So I was like, now I have to fix chapter 16. But I'm grateful that I could see the issues. I'm grateful that I could fix it, that I could decide that this is not really how this character would respond. This is not how either one of these characters would respond. This is not going to work. Something else has to give. There has to be a different reason, a different motivation for this to happen. And I needed whatever happens to happen in the book. I don't want to give away spoiler alerts. I feel like I keep telling my whole stories. I don't mind necessarily sharing recognizing God's hand in my life because, one, that's only chapter 3 that I'm working on, or 4, whichever way you want to look at it. I still haven't decided the first chapter is a chapter or a preface or a whatever. I don't know. Still working on that. But that one I just is different. It's all the way to chapter 16. It's almost the end of the book, and I just don't want to keep giving away spoiler alerts. And recognizing God's hand in my life is just seeing God in my life every day. And I have been sharing seeing God in my life since I started my gratitudes, my 100 days of gratitudes. And now I'm on day 28 of writing. So it's like 128 days of sharing that. So granted, it's usually the stuff that's happening currently in my life that I am grateful for, and the realizations of things about myself that I need to change, that I need to work on, and ways to become a better person and a better representative of the Savior, and just be a happier person and not so judgmental of other people, not so judgmental and critical of myself. All of those things I have been learning and making those changes. But my book is my history. It's my past. And again, it's something I'm not 100% comfortable sharing, but I don't mind the spoiler alert because anybody that's watching these videos, you kind of have an idea as to who I am and the changes that I've been making watching these videos. But maybe as you hear the backstory of my life, as I get that book published, if you get a chance to read it, you can know the struggles that I went through, and understand that I do understand where a lot of people are coming from when it comes to abuse. And I know that there's a lot of worse things that have happened in the world that did not happen to me. And I feel very blessed and grateful that those things didn't happen to me in spite of the things that did happen to me. And I know that sounds kind of odd, but knowing it could have been worse is sometimes actually a blessing because I'm like, well, I survived this and it could have been worse. And other people have had it worse. And I don't envy the other people that had it worse. And I know even my siblings, some of them had it worse than I had it. So I don't envy them either. But I do admire them for surviving it. And I am grateful that they were there to protect me so that I could be here. So it's a balance. It's a back and forth thing. And we each have our own battles. We each have our own struggles that we have to fight. And fighting my old emotions, my memories, my fears. Those are my battles that I'm having right now. Learning to just push through, to break down my walls, to realize that I don't need my daydreams anymore. I don't need my stories that helped me survive, and that it is safe to share it with the world because nobody can come back and hurt me because of what I wrote. My biological dad doesn't have that power over me. He can't do anything to me. If I choose to write it, I choose to write it. He has no control over that. And if I share my stories with the world, I have no control over what people think of my books or my stories. I can hope they like them. I hope you can find as much entertainment in them as I got out of them. But I don't need them anymore. They're not serving a purpose for me in my life now except to avoid my life, to run away from life, to stop living my life. And I don't have anything in life to hide from. I want to be able to live my life. I want to be able to go out in the world and enjoy it and enjoy other people, and maybe someday have another relationship, maybe a better relationship, like a real marriage with a real partner. And not the one that I had, something better. And I want to believe that it's out there. I've seen it in other people, and I see friends that have those kind of relationships. I have my adoptive parents that have that kind of relationship, and I'm like, I want that. It's out there. I can have that. I deserve that. But in order for me to have that, I have to let go of all the crap that I grew up with. I have to stop believing or thinking that every man out there is going to be like my biological dad, because they're not. I know they're not. I have met several men in my life to this point that are not like that. And I am just letting the one bad one overshadow all the good ones, and somehow seeking out all the bad ones to prove that they're all bad. I'm like, nope, just because I married a bad one, because that's what I didn't see it. I believed the facade, I believed the lies, and I fell for it, and I married it, and it didn't work out, and I don't have to go back to that. I don't. I can find someone else that's not going to be lying to me, that's not going to be hiding from me, and someone I don't have to lie to or hide from, someone I don't have to avoid, someone I can be comfortable with, feel safe with, I can enjoy being with, that enjoys being with me. And we can enjoy having the rest of our lives together and being with each other. I don't know why that is so hard of a concept for the men that have been in my life, that I'm like, they can't, be with me. That was my ex's thing. It was like, he spent too much time with me. I was around too much. He couldn't stand it. He needed his space. And I was like, dude, we're married. That you'd want to be together, that you'd want to, but apparently not. So I need to find someone else that wants to be with me as much as I want to be with them, that has the same beliefs that I do, that wants the same things in life, and that doesn't make me feel like I need to run away and create my own little world and my own little fantasy. Those are all things that I need to let go of. And I know as I let go of those things and I send them out into the world, that it opens me up, makes me a little bit more vulnerable, but it also allows the opportunity of new experiences and new people in my life, and the freedom to create new stories if I feel the need. I don't have to keep replaying the old ones. Maybe I'll come up with something a little bit lighter, brighter, nicer, more fun. I don't know. But I know I have a lot to learn from my old stories, a lot of things to process as I go through that. And I don't know how long it's going to take to write all those things or to work through all the things that I've done or been through in my life. And I wished that I would have started sooner or seen it sooner, but I think certain things just have to happen. It's all in God's timing, and I had to be ready and willing to see it, and ready and willing to change. And it didn't matter if people were showing it to me before. I was like, not ready to see it, not ready to see it. Nope, can't deal with it right now. I'm like, I'm hiding in my little world. You can't pull me out. I'm just not even paying attention to what you're saying. I'm just smiling and nodding, and I got some other story going on inside my head. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. But I don't need to do that anymore. It is still my default setting. It is still what I like to run away to, but I don't have to, and I'm grateful that I don't have to. I'm grateful that I can move forward, and that I can make different choices, that I can do things differently, and that I need to do things differently. And I'm grateful for that too. And I'm grateful that I feel like I won a battle today because I chose to write in my stories before work. And I'm still choosing to go to work, even though it's really late and I'd rather just go to bed. But like, I just want to call it a day. I'm done. It's very exhausting. Doing all of this emotional work is exhausting as working. But the bills don't get paid if I don't go to work, and I need the bills to get paid. So I got to go to work. But I am grateful for today, and I am grateful that I could make this video. And so I think that's all I have today, and I hope that in some way that's a little bit helpful, inspiring. That you, if you like it, you can hit like, subscribe. You can share with someone else if you think it'll help them, help lift them up in some way, shape, or form. Or if you just want to laugh at me and my insanity, I'm okay with that too. But hope you have a great day full of gratitude.